depth prior to now, that's basically this filling that hole, so that if it happens again, they're basically incriminating themselves as soon as they do it, and they're basically fucked.
The thing is, too, with the investigation, they're not going to openly talk about an ongoing investigation because they can't. So the fact that they're dropping hints and not openly coming out saying that, hey, there's nothing going on, whatever, this, that, and the fourth, just proves further-wise that there's probably something going on behind the scenes.
Well, you know, Edward Burchick, he was doing some DD. They found that Apex Clearing kind of instructed these brokerages to shut it off.
It was it's looking like it was Apex and Citadel.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the brokers are going to go and show off the buy button themselves. You know, it's going to be the people who are processing those orders, the ones who are on the short end of the stick. This never had to do with the brokers shut off the buy button, but they didn't do it out of their own greed. They did it because their moneymaker told them to.
Yep.
All I know is if they shut it off again, that'll be FOMO on steroids. You'll have multiple days without trading, but people talking about the stock.
And with, like I say, the halts being monitored. So they've got to have an extremely good reason for why they'd be triggered.
The new reporting of the new fact that they have to report if they pull the buy button now, that's definitely bullish, man. That's definitely good news for us and to let people know for transparency that we deserve.
It bleeds further.
Is it still going down?
But the thing is they pass a report talking about how they have removed the buy button or how they haven't announced it. That's just going to allow them to pull the fucking buy button whenever they please.
Yeah, but like I say, if they do that, it pulls the button. Like, whoever does it, like, because, you know, it caused a lot of problems for several different institutions. They all got accused of the same thing because nobody knew who actually was the ringleader. So they're going to want to protect themselves because they want their business to carry on. So they'll just go, okay, well, it's happened again. I'm going to get screwed because it's happened again and I'm part of it. This time around, I don't want to be part of it. Like, this guy caused it. I want my business to carry on and I want to carry on making several billion a year, sort of thing.
I wonder how many users Robinhood lost.
They definitely lost a lot of users.
Hey guys, Beast Mode has a question. Does every broker go through, he says, I got a question about Apex. Does every broker go through them? And when I say that, I mean Webull, Robinhood, Fidelity, etc.
Not every broker, but all the payment for order flow brokers do.
So all the PFOF guys?
Yeah.
If you don't pay to trade, if you get free trades, then yeah, you are definitely going through Citadel or Virtue.
There's another rule that Optimus started talking about, like it was prior to this new one that I've just sort of mentioned today. Definitely follow that guy, he knows his shit. But he was telling us about like how the NYSE is basically forcing change to all of the other exchanges. It would also by proxy fuck up market makers that aren't doing things correctly. They're changing the fees to a lower band. And it's basically forcing the spread to be a lot tighter. And because it's so cheap, it just makes more sense for anybody who would need to use an exchange to go through them. And then therefore also level off everybody else so that they also have to kind of go to the same prices if they want to carry on getting business. So they're kind of on our side, but only because the market's changed, because we're the new quotation marks, we're the new shark in the sea. You know, so they want us to be excited to work with them. So in some ways, NYSE is just by wanting to make money and be the next leading like Xchange and blah, 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 to take back business and blah, blah, blah. They're trying to be on our side.
Nice.
What's up, Javi?
Yeah.
Tyrese, Stank. Thanks for coming out, you guys. Shout out to all you guys on YouTube, too. Looking like Fantasia Holding isn't going to be around, and I don't know about Robinhood. Maybe that's why Vlad sold all his shares a week after the IPO when the stock was pumped. Who fucking knows? But I'm not sure if you guys knew, but Fantasia Holdings is now the first to be liquidated. Fantasia failed to repay $206 million worth of bonds last month and announced that one of its key subsidiaries has received a winding up petition. And that's exactly what Dr. Marco Metzler is doing with Evergrande Bank right now as well.
So that's a different Chinese.
There's
different.
multiple. There's over a dozen Chinese developers going bankrupt or bankrupt right now that are defaulting on their bonds. There's over $100 billion worth. Over $100 billion in the next 12 months is due in bonds from Chinese developers that are going to default. So that's the amount of money that's expected to default, at least just from Chinese bonds. And I think that's absolute insanity at this point.
Marcel, what you're trying to say is we're going to be fucking rich.
God damn, we're going to be fucking rich, man. Just make sure you properly hedge yourself. And I think that's AMC and GameStop and other volatile indexes. To each his own, you know. We'll see what happens afterwards. Who knows what'll be smart. Maybe actual possession of hard metals. You know, it could be other fiats. It could be crypto. Who knows? But in the meantime, I think crypto and the stock market are going to continue to bleed. I don't think I can see AMC. Yeah. I don't think I can see this continuing for much longer here. We're extremely close.
In regards to crypto, like what's his name? I'll try and I think it's Bite Size something on YouTube. I'll go and find the thing while I'm talking. But he got into a large amount of detail regarding the crypto market, like, and the fact that like it's 98% owned by institutions, hiding their money so that they don't get taxed as much and stuff like that. But over the last few years, in actuality, there hasn't really been that much movement on the crypto like market. It looks like it's going up and down, but it's like kind of hot air. So it's kind of like, well, if they've got all of their money in margin, like, you know, that they're actually using and stuff like that, when their margins get called and they suddenly have to call on all of their reserve funds, what's going to happen to the crypto market? It's
hey, boss. Go ahead and finish, Potency. My bad.
No, go for it. I'm done.
I was just going to say the Treasury statement says that we have $125 billion left. We spent over 35 billion today. Jeez. We went from 159 to 125.
Go and link that now. The channel that I was just talking about that goes into a lot of detail about what's going on. Bite-sized podcast. I'll put it in the DD. No, I'll put it in Ape Chat.
Okay.
Really, really, really good video. I definitely recommend everybody go and watch that.
That's awesome.
Can he get the money? Dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I fucking love you, Cash. That's money. That's awesome.
Enjoy being poor right now, cause soon we're gonna be rich as fuck.
Once we MOASS and I'm on my plot of land, I'm gonna get a life-size Ken Griffin cutout to use as target practice.
That's awesome.
Well, I think life size is about 4'11" though, so I might need a taller one.
If you're wanting like a little bit of a like kind of to see what I mean, like we know what the story is that Ken Griffin's trying to tell. He had a thing on Clubhouse just recently called Unfettered Ken Griffin something or
publicity stunt.
Yeah, definitely a publicity stunt, but
you could hear him talk to his lawyers.
Yeah, like, and the thing that kind of stood out was when he said that like hedge fund, all the shorts were sold in January, and it's like, well, the SEC says different, and it's like, who was supposed to trust, you or the SEC? Like, of course the SEC. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Dude probably hasn't said a truth in his life.
Yep.
Oh, thank God we're the lucky ones. There's gonna be a lot of bullshit.
This pizza meeting's more truthful than Ken Griffin, and this shit can't even talk.
Well, I must admit, I did sort of, because you can actually message his profile on Clubhouse. So I was just like, you really think that the shorts were covered? Like, I've got a lot of data that says otherwise. I'm just wondering, like, why you're still pushing, just sort of messaging.
Acting like a curious cat.
Yeah, like, but he's got a ton of messages.
I just don't know how this guy can. I mean, I know the Clubhouse is probably with all his little investing buddies and new investors, if there are any, this, that, and third. But it's like, there's no way you're convincing the fucking mass population of retail investors that your dumbass company return their shares or the short positions recover. There's no way we're believing that because the data says otherwise. So I don't see how he thought that would help unless it's just people who are so uninformed on the events going on that they're just like, I'll give you my money. It's just like no one's picking up that bullshit that he was throwing out in that Clubhouse.
I think even people that were watching him, like even investors, like Stefan, who was in here earlier, watching that shit, reading the comments, like, I don't even believe this ass. Like, I don't believe that motherfucker at all.
I didn't even know it was going on until fucking Corey texted me like, yo, did you see this? And I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, Ken Griffin's in a Clubhouse call. Like, oh boy.
I wasn't surprised. At first it looked fake. They used the same old picture of him from years back.
Well, that's how they all do. It's how Charles Gasparino is too. Show a picture of them in their vibrant 40s when they weren't hurting and weren't struggling, and roll with pictures outdated 10, 15 years. That's what they do. This makes them look better.
Just moving this over here.
See what his motive was behind the call. You know?
It's just to save face.
There we go.
He might be trying to prevent the people from pulling out of his fund.
Yeah, but also, he wouldn't be doing all these live interviews or protecting himself on Twitter or doing the Clubhouse interviews or whatever the fuck if he wasn't already losing investors, you know? Exactly. So it sounds like...
He's concerned.
It sounds like he's just trying to save the ones left.
Well, wasn't he hinting at like politics at some point? Like trying to run for some sort of office at some point?
He probably wouldn't win because he doesn't have himself to pay himself to get himself elected. I call that a Ken Griffin pays for politics joke.
He was asked about it on that last interview he did. Forgot the gentleman's name that was interviewing him, but I don't recall what his answer was. I think his answer was no, that he wasn't going to do it.
Because he's smart enough to realize he wouldn't win.
Did Gasparino ever come out for a space call?
No, I don't think so.
I'd like to see Ken Griffin come out. That'd be great. I'd do a space call with Ken Griffin. I got a few questions for that guy. Like, where's my fucking money? You know what?
I'll order cases of mayonnaise to his house.
I like that. I want my fucking money.
So rich.
How rich are we gonna be, Cash?
I Oh man, so goddamn rich.
That's fucking right, man. We're gonna be so goddamn fucking rich. That's insane. Gary Gensler. I want my fucking money. I want my fucking money. Gary Gensler. I want my fucking money.
In the wise words.
Money. I want my fucking money.
Wise words from Leonardo DiCaprio. I've been a poor man. I've been a rich man. And I choose rich every fucking time.
Can't say I blame the guy. Being poor is not fun.
Poor
Hell
is
no.
fucking fun.
It's humbling,
That's for
but I done
sure.
learned my humble lesson.
My humbleness is now wanting to move on to having an easier life.
Have you learned enough?
Yeah,
All
I've
right,
learned
good.
plenty.
Yeah, me too.
I've learned enough about the corporate plantation. I think it's time to move on.
That's right.
Absolutely.
What's up,
Tired of
TMI,
earning
baby
other
mama?
motherfuckers' money.
Good to see you. Boys, we want to see what's up with the debt ceiling. No problem.
Yeah, what's the word on the street about that one? How do you think that'll go?
Well, I think they're fucked, but what are you going to be there? Biden signed a bill to prevent the shutdown as Congress turns to debt ceiling. That's straight. Good luck with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shit sandwich. Biden's bringing the bread.
What was that about? I think it was the infrastructure bill that passed, the spending bill. They said if there was vaccine mandates in there, the Republicans wouldn't support the debt ceiling. Is that what's going on as well, or?
Yeah, basically. Look at the White House has a lot to do, man. They've got a lot left to catch up with here, basically. They still have to vote on the actual raising of the debt ceiling, and they're not going to get any bipartisan help on this one. Plain and simple.
The fucking Republicans need to go on offense and force them to like open up the Keystone Pipeline again or some shit to play ball on the debt ceiling.
They say that the X date is supposedly between December 21st and January 28th. I don't know if I believe that anyway.
Depends on what's more politically expedient for the Republicans.
Getting
a little bit of leverage for something that they want, pet project, or possibly burying the Democratic Party or something and take it back over the House and the Senate and the presidency. Yeah. Why get a little bite of the steak when you can take the whole fucking steak? No.
I think they're trying to bide the time because obviously they've got to wait until the next election before they can actually do anything. So trying to build like enough sort of reputation points in the lead up to the next thing.
Well, all they got to do is stand by and do nothing. I mean, the Democrats are not exactly helping themselves, you know what I mean? And regardless of, what the facts are on the ground necessarily, not everything that the Democrats are doing is intentional, or you can't blame everything for situation. We talked about this the other night where the supply chain problem stuff is not just a Democrat problem, it would be a Republican problem too. I'm a conservative, but all facts remaining, it's your fault even when it's not your fault because you're the one in power, you know what I mean? So you have to take the good and the bad. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And the Republicans are going to stand by and allow that, view to be taken. You know what I mean?
They knew what they were doing as soon as that money printer started printing trillions of dollars.
think they had an idea. They knew that they could keep this thing going for just a little bit longer and just kind of push it down the line, see if they can make it the next party's problem. And
Yeah, I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe the people running this country are so just, you know, uninformed about economics that they're like, we shouldn't have to worry about printing all this money. It should be fine. Like, I just refuse to believe that.
They're not. They're not. I mean, don't get me wrong. Is there a handful of complete fucking morons? How the hell they got in the Senate, I have no idea. But the majority of people that sit on the committees and the boards and stuff that deal with the economy or deal with the Treasury and the Feds and everything else and deal with foreign policy, the people that you don't hear their names a lot about, they know what the fuck's going on. That's why Democrats and Republicans both have never been concerned about the debt. They use it as a political tool, you know, to get the constituency to vote, and, oh, we're going to worry about it and we're going to deal with it, and they don't give a fuck, and they shouldn't. You know, the United States, Boss can probably find it in the Treasury Department. The United States owns $127 trillion in assets. So we're not even a quarter of debt compared to our actual assets yet. So we're not in some tremendous, horrible situation. I'm not saying the debt doesn't have disadvantages, but at the same time, again, when you're creating debt now and you're paying it far down the road, and the constant inflation of the dollar, you know, is depreciating that debt. And when you build out infrastructure or you build out, you know, manufacturing or things in the States now that create jobs or tax revenues now for the next 30 years, and you're inflating that debt away, you're getting kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And a lot of people, they mistake their own checking account and their own business or their own working as far as their budget and their household is the same as monetary policy in the government. And it's not the same.
The thing is, like, the thing that's got to be taken into consideration with that is the fact that they can just keep printing as much as possible, and because they've got the biggest military in the world, they can do whatever they want, and also because they're world currency, they can do what they want. So with that being the case, because they can just keep printing, and also them trying to switch over to digital currency, so it literally would just become limitless. They have no concern about that kind of thing. So any excuse to just print more money is just it, because where does the money come from? The banks. The banks actually run everything. Like, the Federal Reserve actually answers to the banks. Like, in order for them to continue to make more money, more profit, more, like, you know, have more opportunities to make more money elsewhere and blah, 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 they create debt. We live in a debt economy. That's where it all comes from, and like not that many people understand it. Like, and that's why a lot of like the higher up economy like focused people who really understand it, they realize that politicians have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Like, oh, we're going to run out of money, oh, you need to save your money and blah blah blah. Like, they've got no fucking idea what they're talking about. They don't know how the actual economy works. Like, it's created from debt. They want more debt because that gives them more power.
But, you know, debt does
interest or creation.
Debt does create, you know, the opportunity to create wealth, though, at the same time. I'm not saying there's no consequence to creating debt or being in a position where assets are nowhere near the ability to cover debts. I mean, there is a limit, but the creation of debt is what allows economic expansion. I mean, when we got off the dollar or got off, yes, but when we got off the gold standard, a lot of people were real negative that. And there's a lot of reasons why we got off the gold standard, but our economy and our empire has exploded in its ability to grow to the size it has because of that.
It's inflationary though, like, because the only reason inflation exists is because it's wealth created from nothing. When you've got like just money just being thrown out at everything, and it's like, okay, so what was this money created from? Like, what did it buy? What did it sell? What did it help sell? Sorry. Like, so like with like Elon Musk, it's like, what happens when there's nobody working? Like, nothing, you know, there's no like value being created. So, you know, we need people to go back to work and blah blah blah. Like, you know, that's why we need to create all of these new cars and blah blah blah. you know, it's kind of the way that that gets fixed is by creating wealth from value.
No,
And at
I
the
agree.
moment,
But again, this again comes down to spending. Like, what are you, when you create the debt, what are you spending it on? If you're spending on things that are going to create value, then the debt is worth it. But we know that the government fucks that up and spends a lot of the debt they create on things that don't reproduce the velocity of money being turned over. So it's literally wasted money. And then there's definitely inflation in that because there's nothing there to back it up afterward.
yeah, what does that create? More debt.
Yes.
See what I mean? It's the people who want the more debt that are pushing this whole thing.
Yes.
Like they go to poor countries and they tell them like how to do certain things in a way that makes them rely on the reserve banks of the Western societies, so that they then are more like indebted to the Western societies. They don't grow, and they're just in a position where they're giving all the resources, and they're basically beholden to us.
Okay, so in that context, in the United States, and I'm not saying this is a human, a righteous thing to do, but we're looking at it from the standpoint of the United States as an empire. Of course, the empire is going to go out, create a deal with certain countries, individuals, and put them in a situation where they become dependent upon the United States. Why? Control.
Yeah,
Who's
control.
to dominate? And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that is how it is. And if the United States doesn't do it, I guarantee you China will do it. They're already doing it. Russia's done it. You know what I mean? We created the IMF, the World Bank, and the Trilateral Union, and a bunch of other these entities. And the BRICS countries have created the same entities on the opposite side. Everybody's trying to do the same thing. It's just the United States is doing it, winning at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only problem is like if it keeps going, it's just like, I mean, it kind of centers back to what you were saying, like you sort of giving the future the death. But if it keeps going, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and less valuable. Like, so over the long term, you just end up with this like kind of empty society that's not doing anything, and you sort of end up going backwards. It's like, so it has to be reverted towards putting like having money be like connected to things of value. It is limited, but that's actually why it's valuable. It's the sad state of affairs. Like, I watched like a 2-hour video that was basically going over all of this, and it makes a complete sense. The only way to get away from this system, because to some degree, all of this wealth creation, I'm not going down the conspiracy route. I'm just saying, like, I can't come to any other form of conclusion. From a logic standpoint, the more money is created through debt, bearing in mind we're the ones who are indebted because we're society, it's basically like paid slavery. So the only way you can get away from it is to create wealth from value.
No, I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, on that, it's not my voice or my opinion. It's just an observation of, what is today. And the simplified thing, where a lot of people look at this situation or scenario, and because they've never really been involved with it, or it's not taught in schools, it's not taught in colleges. It's a very limited amount of knowledge that certain people have. And it's not that it's unattainable, it's just it's hard to find. Obviously, because of its implications if you know about these things. So you keep a population uneducated toward geopolitical strategy. But let's just make it in a very simplified terms that everybody can understand. If you look take Africa, Russia, China, all that, the whole big main island mass over there. That is the largest area of minerals, product sources, people, which is labor. And so whoever controls, and I don't mean like, plant your flag in the ground, conquer. In the old days, we conquer in different ways nowadays. But whoever controls the ebb and flow of the labor and controls the minerals, the rights, the resources, the transport of those, controls the world. And that's why, you know, people look at the United States and look at a map of where all the bases are. The bases surround every bit of that, every aspect of that. And why are we involved? Everybody says, oh, we should mind our business. We should get out of there. We should do this. No. If you want the United States to remain the empire,
It's been a really
you
intense
want to
few weeks, as I
maintain the
don't
prosperity
need to
of
tell
life
you.
that
I
we
want to
have
ask
here in
about the moment in
America.
the Oval Office last
That is
week with
what is
President Biden. Your staff
foreign
has been
policy
talking
wise.
openly about this.
If not,
So I'm not
you will
talking out
have
of school
China, or you will
about a
have
moment
Russia,
that was
or
very
another
personal
major
to
entity.
you.
I mean, there was a Turkish
You
empire
apparently
one
broke into
time.
tears
You
when
will
you were
have
pushing
another
for immigration
party that
reform.
steps up,
Tell us
gains
about that
control,
moment, why it was important to you.
access to
Yeah,
that
actually, I
labor
was
market,
batting cleanup.
those
You know, I was
minerals,
the last
and the
speaker.
transport of
I was
those.
sitting
And
closest
when
to
they
the
do,
president, so it
and
was
they're
like
more
this,
wealthier than
literally
you,
this,
they have a
this
bigger
far
military
apart.
than you,
And I
they
went through all my
dominate. And you
priorities
will
for the
be
Progressive
underneath,
Caucus, exactly
just
all
like
the things
everybody
we had
else
on the
is pretty much
table, the
underneath the
agreements
United
that had been
States, is what
made.
we want or what
And
we,
at the end, I
we can
said,
get
Mr.
away with.
President, I want to
You'll
tell
be
you
getting
why
away
this
with
is
whatever the
so
CCP
important.
wants, or
And I told
whoever.
the story, Jake, of coming to this country at 16 years old. My parents had
That's
nothing
why
in their
we're
pocket.
seeing the decoupling from China.
It's
Yes,
about
there
that
is
time.
a deglobalization.
In the pharmaceutical and the microchips like Intel.
Well, the decoupling from China and the decoupling from globalization is the United States has figured out the whole purpose of that in the first place was to gain everybody to join the economic choo-choo train. And once everybody is involved and everybody is dealing business with each other and doing trade with one another, nobody wants the money source to stop or the interconnected ties to stop because it's so damaging to an economy, which can be damaging politically. So we tied everybody in, which was creating what our national security operation is what it basically came down to. Security for the United States. We couldn't take the whole world on, so how do you get the whole world to kind of submit where we have enough power we can maintain everything? You get them to join all our organizations. You get them tied and linked in where they can't really break away. But now the United States has figured out that a decoupling from everything and then letting other people depend on the security, we already had the money. We already have the military. We can protect ourselves. We can go to war. And these other people now have to pay for their own military, pay for their own structures, their own transportation and protection of their shipments. And because of all the infighting all over the globe, where you don't have a mass conglomerate like all the allied countries against one country, then that puts those people at a disadvantage. And it provides us with security by creating proxy wars between all these other nations. So our security is still protected. And that's another driver of bringing shit back home, which when we bring the shit back home, just like back after World War II, we get the economic boom here, the manufacturing boom. Wealth created jobs because the higher paying jobs industry is coming back to the United States, which is still in our national security interest too, because the chips and medicines and things that we really depend on with China, which China grew massively over the last 25 years due to the United States. We are the largest supporter of them in buying their products and this and that. And they have made their wealth off the United States and our dealings with them. But what did they do? They grew to a point where they become a national security concern. So what are we doing now? We are backing away from that situation.
Start crumbling.
Not trying to take over the Discord there, boss.
Continue, my friend. That is fantastic information. I'm just soaking it in, man. See,
well, you guys are a lot of you guys. I depend on you guys for the stock shit and the analytics shit, but geopolitical strategy and foreign policy stuff is kind of. I'm not no professional or nothing like that. It's just that's what I study all the time. That's kind of my thing.
You're great at it, man. That's why I enjoy having you and talking with you about this kind of stuff. So thanks for sharing this.
Well, the reason I got into it, I appreciate it. The reason I got into it, though, and so people can understand why I'm talking about these things is, if you understand the globalism or the decoupling of it, you can understand markets, you can understand trends, and the policy of your country, how it affects the markets internally, and how it affects the markets externally in a foreign nation. So where you guys are going to put your money and where you're going to grow your money, you can see and go, okay, well, the policy and the laws are pushing this or pushing that. I can see where the trend is going. So I need to move my money maybe to Europe. I need to move my money into an Asian market. I need to move my money back home. I need to be in this market or this sector based upon what your politicians do, which affect markets.
I'm just excited for when deflation kicks in.
Oh, me too. Everything is a discount. We can afford to buy a fuck ton of shit.
It's shit, but like we're gonna have extreme hyperinflation, and then obviously nobody's gonna be able to afford anything, and it's gonna plummet to the ground. And it's like, okay, now I'm gonna start buying. So how long do you think that would take? Like that whole like skyrocket and then plummet to the floor?
I mean, my opinion is the United States, based on just some of the data that I have, we already have low inflation due to our agricultural. We already have better technology to extract energy and use it more efficiently than everybody else. So that's kind of what's kept inflation under control since the 80s. But the supply chain is fucked for everybody. And we talked about this last night and before. 4 to 5 years out, that's going to create inflationary pressure. And so until we get the supply chain shit worked out and we get the manufacturing up and established and the plants built here and finished in a way to move them quickly and easily, then, you know, we are going to see some inflationary pressure. I mean, there's just, it's not going to be like the rest of the world. Then you also got to look at too, this is 2022. By 23, the rest of your baby boomers are retiring out. You're going to have a large source or a massive amount of money leave the markets. You got to look at the demographics and age groups, birth rates. That's going to be impactful inside the United States in location to a degree per cities and things. But the United States is going to fare better than any other country in the world based on the fact that our boomers had a baby boom. The baby boomer era of yesteryear or you know, in Europe and other countries, they didn't have as many kids. China had the one-child policy. So our millennials are, they're the ones that are kind of propping us up because they still consume. We have a consuming age group. And if you start breaking countries down by the aggregate of age, look at Canada, look at Mexico. People are worried about people coming from Mexico and flooding the country. That's going to stop because the age group of young Mexicans that are moving to come to America, they're running out. They didn't have very many children. The ones that are here. So they can't just flood year after year like they're going to run out. And so, you know, Canada, European countries, this and that, when your consumer population is gone and you have a mass retiree population, who's pulled their money out of the markets and who doesn't really spend as much money? The most of the money they spend is in usually medical care and things like it in their older years, but they're not large consumers. People are going to be chasing a market to not lose money. And the United States is the only one that has one because of the millennials. This is a big fuck up on everybody's part all over the world where they push this narrative and shit of breaking the family apart. When you break families apart, you don't have children, not as many. You know what I mean? I mean, we still have kids and we have kids out of wedlock, but that's, you know, a moral issue or whatever, but it damages, you know, the sustainability. You have to have a population coming in behind you to support the older generation. The United States is the only one that has that.
From a sociological point of view, I think it has been talked about on one of Boss's videos as well. Like, as soon as they detached the gold standard from the dollar, suddenly, like, divorce rates went up, like suicide went up, like people like getting ill went up, all of these different things. And I'm not sort of fighting for, like, you know, the gold standard or anything like that, but therein lies the problem, because yes, we we kind of arguing about, well, debating this, but if we're in a society where there is wealth being created from nothing, that just exacerbates that whole thing. So what you're saying with, like, people, you know, not having as many kids, like, you're going to have a lot more older people and that sort of thing, this actually makes that worse.
Yes.
Like, the gold standard proves that. Like, that whole, like, if you go and look at all the charts, when as soon as the gold standard separates, like, the line for people getting, like, better wages and blah 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 starts going down, and everybody starts suicide, people getting fatter and blah blah blah. Like, you know the story anyway. Like, and all of the value of money getting thinner but much higher in number and blah blah blah. And it's just like, well, those two actually correspond.
So it's very, very complicated.
It is complicated, and then when you're trying to look at something as large as this, and then tie single implications, whether it be gold standard or whether it be this or whether it be that or a single policy, it's such a large thing. You know, just like in data, you can say like, okay, well, this will affect this, but you know, just because this is something that appears to be relevant doesn't necessarily make it that that's the direct tie. Maybe it's just a correlation, not necessarily a causation. And then there's so many factors you could put on the table and say, well, this causes this. But there's 7 things that could cause it, or they just correlate with it. So, I mean, it's hard to say whether, you know, it's the gold standard or it's, you know, just one particular thing or 2 particular things. You know, this is a massive, you know, undertaking to run a country and an economy and all that. I don't think it's necessarily technically that difficult as far as, you know, it's 10,000 things and we can't figure it out. But, you know, you can't always say that a single cause is the actual action versus just the correlation that it may be. It just looks like it because this happens and then this happens, when it could be 2 or 3 other things. You know, we just don't know. I'm just trying to put it out there for the people that people are very emotional. And the good thing about everybody getting into this market and getting into AMC and GME is they went through this emotional roller coaster. They got beat all to shit. But then they come to find out, you know, over time and over information, I don't necessarily have to, when I see a red day or we're bleeding like a motherfucker like the other day, and then you find out, well, the options and then this, and then they did this, and it's like, well, now you no longer have that fear. People need information to not have fear. When you don't have the fear, you don't have to fear the downturn or an economic bubble or a cycle or anything like that. All you need to do is have the information, and then you can prepare. You have situations and scenarios, just like we have exit strategies. If this happens with AMC or GME, I'm going to sell at this price, and this price, and I'm going to enter this trade, and this trade. If it happens at this price, I'm going to do this, and this scenario. They have plans and preparation based upon, if Trump gets in, I'm going to do this. If Biden gets in, I'm going to do this. You have a plan for either scenario. And I'm not saying it's your favorite plan or your favorite color. It doesn't matter as long as you have a plan. And that's, I guess, the biggest thing with this Discord is getting information out so people don't have to live like, oh my God, is the economy going to completely blow up? Is it the end of the world? Is it going to be Mad Max? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm not saying there's not uncomfortable times or things like that, but it may not have to be uncomfortable for you. I mean, there's people that went through 08, 09 that I know that weren't affected. They never lost their job. You know, they were in a specific sector or this and that. They didn't lose any money. You know, it just didn't have an effect on them like it did other people. So for them, they was like, oh yeah, it was kind of bad. I kind of noticed some things, but for their personal life, there was 0 effect. Well, one of y'all talk, because now I'm just rambling.
No, it's cool, dude. Like, it's interesting. Yeah, I don't think we're that far away. I've been looking like it. I think I mentioned it earlier. Pi-Fi on YouTube.
Yeah,
he knows
gurking it.
He knows his shit. Yeah, he's fucking funny as well. He knows his shit.
I like him. Yeah,
he's had a team of people like staring at like all of the, you know, the T35, like T+2 and all this sort of thing, and like kind of comparing it to last year and looking at when the ETFs get called, when the leaps get called, when the futures, blah blah blah. And yeah, like, you know, the roll and the fail. He's got a lot of different videos that could really cover all of the like what's happening and how that will affect the coming action. Because I kind of use the metaphor of, imagine you've got like a really kind of like a rock that's got like a lot of ridges on the top and like bumps all over the place, and then you get like this blanket that's not quite big enough to cover the whole thing, but you try and pull it down over the rock as hard as possible. And then because you're pulling it as hard as possible, that's the metaphor for these stocks. You can see all of the ridges because they've got no room to do anything. So as soon as a date comes up, because they can't kind of hide that date affecting the stock, it pushes the stock value up in that particular area, you know? Like if they had more ability to actually manipulate this stock more than they actually are, then you wouldn't see those dates. Like you would be able to tell that there's a T35 was going to trigger this date. But if you look at the actual charts on both stocks, it's almost annual. It's almost quarterly when the next spike occurs. It's like, well, why is that always exactly the same frequency? Then the next one's like it's about around the same distance from the previous one. So it's like, well, clearly there's something going on here. So apparent, like from what I can tell, like the November roll fail period for all of these different like checks, like for like ISDA contracts and all that sort of thing, was failed in November, and it didn't go up because like a roll will cause it to skyrocket and then come down. A fail won't go up, but a few weeks later, FTDs occur. So you'll suddenly see the FTD amount start going up. And that failed in November, and then that led to January, which is the annual one, not the quarterly one. And that's much, much bigger. Like that's bigger in every area, and all of them are closer together. So for me personally, I'm not advising anybody else, but I'm thinking like I'm going to put like further in the money, like calls, and just kind of like exercise them when they hopefully spike in January. But because it failed,
that is a good idea. It doesn't hurt for you to say buy 2 to 1, buy 1 to sell and 1 to execute. That's not a bad idea at all. A lot of people think that's a very good way to create pressure.
If you exercise at the top, just exercise, that causes even more forced up pressure.
Yep. You bought here, now they have to buy those 100 shares to execute on your execution way up here. It's definitely going to hurt these market makers with this, massive changes in buying pressure when people do this. And that's what people don't understand about options. You got to try to be smart with them.
Yeah. Like this, Sergio, because it failed in November. Sorry, I'll just try and finish this.
Please, I'm sorry, man.
It's really no, it's useful information. That's why I'm not trying to interrupt you. November failed, which led to January failing, and the only reason that like they were obviously able to survive is the reason that we were all pissed off about, because they crushed the buy button. But because they crushed it, and like quite a few people probably sold because of panic, and as well as that, they probably shorted it and got some money off that as well. But I think that gave them enough money to survive the next 2 quarters, because they got through to June and then they got through another one, but then they've come round to November and it looks like they failed again. So it's basically the same thing, but on a much larger scale. Maybe, I'm not like that. I don't know what the actual data is, but that's what it looks like on the chart. Because the spike is nowhere near as big as the previous 2. And the previous 2, I'm talking about GME in this instance. The previous 2 spiked up, like I say, a roll. When they roll it, that means they've obviously been able to pass it on, so it goes for another period of time. But the stock skyrockets a bit and then drops down. That's what it did. And then it went to the next quarter, it went up, and then it dropped down. Then come round to this quarter, it went up only slightly, like a little tiny bump, and just kind of carried on straight. Yeah, it pushed it down a bit, but it's not that much lower, like in the grand scheme of things. So for me, that looks like a fail. So as soon as they fail on something this fucking massive, they're fucked. So for me personally, I think January is going to be absolutely amazing. And I think it's going to land around the same dates.
I mean, that's their belief too. I mean, there's definitely correlation in all of it. I mean, we can see that for sure.
It's bullish either way you look at it, Either way you look at it.
And Boss can probably speak to this, but I don't see, I'm not an options professional at all in any sort of way, so don't fucking listen to me, but I bought my options farther out just in case, you know what I mean? Like, what does it matter if you buy them 6, 8, 9 months out? I mean, do you think the squeeze is going to happen? If you think it's going to happen in the next 2 months or 3 months, What's the difference if you buy them 6-9 months out? I mean, I don't think they hold it that long, but it doesn't matter to my option if it's fucking doesn't expire until June
It does.
or July
It does
or
matter.
whatever.
It does matter. That's where the knowledge of the way the options work, because theta.
Well, then
theta decay.
Yeah, explain it to me then.
You have to always have more time on your
you know.
options because of theta decay. So it's the major killer.
That's what
in
I'm saying.
options. You always got to give yourself more time.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I bought mine out all the way till April.
That's cool.
So that's why I'm at. Like, if we think it's going to be December or January, you know, and what if it was February and I was wrong? But my option don't expire till April. I'm saying, like, does it harm you in any way, boss, to buy an option farther? Like, what if it's a year out? Say you buy one a year out, even though you only think it's a month away. Does it affect the value of the option if it runs?
No, the option's the same, except you can't afford as much leverage. So you'd be able to buy many more.
No, that is.
So it's like a safety difference. It's like a, safety, because with options you have the ability to lose everything.
No, you're right. You're right. Because the safer it is, the more the premium cost.
Yeah, the farther out, the theta is a huge indicator of the premium and the amount of money that you could possibly lose or make. So
yeah, I mean,
I'm
chose
with you.
To go with
you always got to give yourself more time. That's for sure. So
here's a question: do you think Old Yeller knows when it's going to happen?
I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised if they were working on something together. Whoops, let me reopen that tab.
Retail or the institutions? Hello?
Sorry, say that again?
No, I was just asking all of who, like, know retail or institutions. Somebody was saying, I wonder who knows.
Oh, we said Old Yeller, meaning Janet Yellen.
Yeah.
Oh, I do apologize.
Oh, that's cool. I was thinking these guys have to have an idea of when this is about to go down. I still have a feeling that's what this whole debt ceiling excuse is. The whole reason they're going through this rigmarole is in order to pop the bubble. Pop the current bubble we're seeing in the markets, both stock, real estate, and crypto. So I just said all of the above. It's like every market you can think of right now is like overinflated.
Yeah, I feel like they're just using it to have the perfect opportunity to let it rip when they need to, like kick it down as far as you can, and then right when it's the perfect setup, let it rip.
Then they're gonna blame it on a new strain.
But we're gonna be so fucking rich. We're gonna be rich.
Let's go. Let's go. I can wait, but I think we're ready to go. Ready to rock and fucking roll on this shit. And yeah, earlier at 2-ish when I wasn't on stream on time, yeah, I was buying. I was buying. Some people were asking. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I gotta ask y'all, any of y'all tired of your friends or anybody bitching every time the price goes down?
I don't even care anymore about the fucking price, but yeah, a lot of people do.
You know, I'm not gonna lie.
I don't either.
I'm pretty impressed with my buddies. They've been diamond handing pretty well.
That's
good.
good.
They've been listening to what I've been telling them and explaining. I've been getting texts like I've been buying more. My buddies are a little younger and they're just fucking with Doge earnings, so maybe it's just the fact that it wasn't really money that was hard earned at the end of the day. But they've been buying all the way from fucking 22 to 62, 72, back down to fucking 30. I've been impressed with them.
Most of my friends are like that. I got a couple, every time it's like they get fucking nervous and I'm like, how many times we've been through this? And then it's like, again, all you have to do is sit on your ass. Wait 6 months. Wait a year. Make more money you never make in your whole fucking life. And all you have to do is sit on your ass and wait. Like, the fuck? Quit bitching. You know what I mean?
They have times. They've questioned me, like, what's going on? They've asked for explanations. I give it to them. And they, but...
Oh, nothing wrong with learning. Nothing wrong with asking like that. get tired of the fucking worry work motherfuckers after so many times. Just like, you know what? Just sell me your shares. I'll just buy them for you. Just won't get out.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they haven't questioned the the squeeze itself, just because they've never been involved in these sort of. I mean, I've never been involved in a squeeze play either, but I know investing takes time because I've been in it a little longer than they have. But they've been holding solid for this long, and I was like, if y'all can hold through this, bro, you'll be straight in the market. As long as you learn the ups and the downs and all that shit, if you can hold, you can make some fucking money.
I think it's just in. Sorry, go on, Cash.
This is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
It's fucking right.
Never get this chance ever again.
Yeah.
We won't, because things are going to be so bad after this that I don't think the regulators will ever let banks over leverage this badly again. That's why we call it the mother of all short squeezes, right? This is ridiculously over leveraged.
I think as well, something that this is why we're kind of seeing this from friends and family. Like, why is it going down? Should I sell? It's like this sort of thing. It's like, what have they been taught throughout most of society, and what have we probably been exposed to some degree? A lot of people struggling, and a lot of like the drama in the community on Twitter. I don't even pay attention to a lot of the comments anymore. But boss has seen me like getting shitty with one person once because it was just getting annoying. But like, I think people are taught in society, like, everybody's taught to earn money, not make money. So you're taught that you have to do things, and then not long after you've done something else happens and you get the result. And then so they go into the stock market. And as well as that, they've also been taught to save, and that as soon as money comes in, it's going out again. So they've been programmed to basically worry about every single penny movement. And then they go onto the stock market and they're like, oh shit, it's all go. It's like it's programming. And yes, they're kind of probably bumping up to the same thing again and again, but like you're gradually teaching them and slowly honing them to be able to actually do what you're doing. It's it's instinct. And it's them retraining their brain. So it is annoying, but I think it's there for a reason.
Plus, in terms it's a drop in the bucket of how many millionaires really are going to come out of this. Like, it's still a lot of people, but it's not too far fetched to believe.
It's not like it hasn't happened before. It happened really over the last several years. It's been happening a lot more frequently with crypto. So it's not anything that's unheard of. It's just when people hear about it, it's just one of those every now and then things, because it's still few and far between, but a lot more common than it used to be.
I actually did the math, boss. I said, okay, let's say there's 4 million retail investors, 4 million apes within AMC or GME. We wouldn't even break 0.004% of the world's wealth. Like, right. We wouldn't even add 0.5% to the world's wealth. That's how many people we would make a difference, but we wouldn't make that much a difference in statistics.
The difference where it would be massive, in my opinion, where it would probably be money coming from a lot of people, not just these large institutions, but I think a large percentage of people would lose a smaller amount of money, and then a lot of apes will make massive amounts of money, which is a beautiful thing. At the end of the day, it's really quite bittersweet, but the money's got to come from somewhere, right?
Plus, it's so good for you. Sorry, go ahead.
You might as well go, dude.
I was just gonna say, if all these people become like millionaires, how good that is for the economy. Because one of the things about, at least from my understanding of taxing the rich, I mean, that narrative came out because stagnation or inflation or whatever. Like, billionaires, as we were talking earlier, use debt in order to buy things. So they're never really using their money. They're just keeping it. Circulation and that kind of debt creates money. Or growth, sorry. But imagine what I'm going off of is the fact that if this money goes into the economy and we all become millionaires, we'll probably be spending it on things that are useful. So it would probably help the economy in a great deal.
I would say the tax revenue. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think they really want to help the economy. They want to help their bottom line. They being, you know, government, big business. So that's why they've been pushing this off so hard.
I think there's an irony to this whole situation. You know, that like they started talking about the trickle down effect and how it would save the society and it was just a good thing, blah blah blah. Ironically, they have actually done trickle down effect now, and choose it. They're giving all of their money to us. This is the effective trickle down.
They're all dinosaurs, though.
Yep. On their way out, codgering around in like Florida. Like, is that the old people's city of choice, or Palo Alto?
Where did you say?
Well, it's that place where Tesla's got like he shoots from and old folks community.
In California or in Houston or Austin, Texas?
I can't remember, but there's like a community where like a lot of old people go. It's like a small village, not like that many. It's not like big or anything. It's just like a small.
I think it's in Texas.
I'm sorry.
It's in Texas.
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but like that's where he moved all like a lot of his rockets, like shooting them all. And it's like this.
Oh, yeah. Well, wealthy people, like, they do spend money per se, but usually it's in creation of new money, not their money. They use their to purchase assets. They use their assets to leverage other people's money, which is created money, whatever, from the bank or from the Fed, whatever you want to call it, or loans, you know, whatever, either or. But those usually do create value because they have to they're creating more value for themselves or growing their assets. But there's not enough millionaires or billionaires that consume enough to create like tremendous prosperity. That comes from a middle class. You need people in the millions and millions of people spending money. And millionaires, like, they own their house, they own their cars, maybe not personally, maybe an LLC owns it or this and that, so there's no liability. You know, they can't be sued personally because they don't fucking own anything personally, but they control everything. But yeah, I mean, they might buy a fucking $50 million plane. They might buy a giga mansion. They might, yeah, but that's still not a massive impact to the economy. It does impact some jobs and construction and some things. If they build, like Tesla's moving one of its plants and they build a new battery plant, yeah, that creates a fuck ton of jobs. We get paid really good money to go in there and build those. And those, you know, are 2-year projects, 3-year projects. So, I mean, that you know, that's a 6-figure income for me for 2 or 3 years. But it's us that have the daily expense, the weekly expenses. You know, like I said, they own their car, they own their house. And once everything's bought and paid for, how much do they really spend? You know what I mean? Some of them can live luxury lifestyle and spend a little bit of money, but again, it's not in comparison to the average middle-class person that has to put their kid in daycare, put the kid in school, soccer practice, got to buy baseball bats for them because they want to play baseball this season. You know, they got to go to college, they need a new car, you know, mom needs a new car, you know, all this shit, the consumer spending. You know, that's where the majority of the fucking economy comes from. Which is always beyond me why they want to kill the middle class. Because to me, I'll be honest with you guys, I mean, if the elite were, to me, smart, it would be super simple to, if you really want to enslave people, if you really want to be at the top and stay at the top, the majority of people, yeah, there's people that want mansions. Yeah, there's people that want yachts. Most of us are not shooting for that. The average everyday citizen out there is just wanting, can I take a 1-2 vacations a year with my family? Can I put my kid through college? Can I get my bass boat? Can I get my Harley? You know, can me and my wife go to Jamaica this year? You know, can we do that? And that's a middle class income. And the bigger the middle class is, guess what? They don't bitch. They don't do crime. They don't burn shit down. They don't bother anybody. They don't pay attention to politics. They just want to be left alone. So give them their middle class house, give them their fucking, bass boat, give them their Harley, give them their 2 vacations a year and leave them the fuck alone. And guess what? You'll still have your private clubs and your yachts and all that stuff. You know what I mean? And they'll never bother you.
So true, so true. I just want a coffee machine. That's it.
A coffee machine. Probably want one of them French espresso machines. It's like $1,200 though, right?
Yeah, I would love one of those.
I ain't gonna lie, I want one too. I like when coffee's not even really coffee anymore. It's something you got to put your pinky in the air to drink.
So good.
I just want an apartment.
An apartment. You guys are liars.
No, I know. I do. I'm trying to grounded. Like, I want an apartment in the city centre, nothing massive, because I live in Manchester in the UK. It's like the second capital of the country.
Oh wow!
It's like London 0.5. It's like it's the same kind of feel, but it's cheaper and it's a bit smaller. So I just want a small, like medium-sized apartment, maybe 2-3 beds, something like that, and then that's it. I know I've got my house sorted out, and then I'm just going to do charity work and like try and like campaign for certain rights and stuff like that. And just that's all
awesome,
I really
man.
want. I just want to do some good in the world. You know what I mean? So.
I will say this: me personally, wealth was. I wrote this in the Discord last night. Is we talk about doing good things for our communities. We talk about doing things that we want to do to help others. Right. And then wealth is the first step. Wealth is a tool. Money is a tool. It's influence and power that you want. And influence and power is what is going to change things politically, change things in our communities, change things in our areas, to make things better, to make them correct or right. And I'm not saying they have to be perfect or nothing like that. I'm just saying we see a lot of things in the world today that are wrong. I mean, just shittily wrong. And, even though I'm a conservative and stuff like that, I still have a lot of libertarian views, and I still want to help people. I don't like, somebody putting a gun to my head and emptying my wallet and taking my money and then them saying I'm going to save somebody. I'd rather choose myself to donate and help, because I do that. I think a lot of it, good, but the money is the first step for us gaining influence and power into bigger things if we want to change things. And this is an opportunity for us all to do that. And again, this Discord, we're talking to a guy right here. I'm in America. He's in the UK. We're sharing information all across the globe from all different areas, different cultures, different perspectives, but we're all in the same group. And we all, give a shit about one another. So in that context, we're sharing information, and not one of us knows it all. But as we share this information, this community, I mean, the more we learn, and with the more wealth that we have, and the more access to information and access to different things, the more we can do as a community. Just an opinion.
Amen, brother. In order for us to actually be able to live our lives to its fullest extent and to help other people, we first got to help ourselves, and that takes money. And so depending on what you want to do, power as well. I'm
sure you've heard of it, boss, but if you got $20 in your pocket and somebody needs $20 and you give them $20, they're just going to need another $20. So I was told by a wealthy man once who does things for people now, he was like, stop giving away your fucking money. Save your money, invest, and build something. Mm-hmm. Become successful, become wealthy. He said, then you can really help somebody. They need a car to get to work. $20 ain't going to get them but a few bus tickets. Buy them a fucking car so they can go to work. That will really help. You know what I mean? So you got to take care of yourself first and your family first. Then you can go out in the world and you can help other people. But you got to build some type of success first. Dan Pena, I don't know, he's kind of a controversial. A lot of people don't like him, but it's like, hey, you're protesting your sign, you're standing out there. He said, they just laugh at you. You don't change shit. And you don't. You can look at the political vote count of population of what they get passed and what they get blocked versus lobbyists. And it's a huge gap. So go out, make $1 billion fucking dollars, and then change the fucking world. That's what it takes. I hate to say that, but it's true.
Kenny, I want my fucking money.
Hey, yo, motherfucker.
Hell yeah.
Like,
and I'll be
I
honest.
Pay me my
Go ahead, man.
money.
no, you go ahead, dude.
I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not a humble motherfucker at all. I want to ride around in a Kenny jet. I want to help. I want to do a lot of good things, but I don't have any modesty about me. I want fucking Lambos. I want to ride in private jets, and I want to own my own company and walk around like I got the biggest dick. But even though I don't.
Oh, that's great.
Like,
to each his own, my friend. To each his own. Everybody.
I've got personal trading qualification, and I don't believe in. I want to work for a gym because like they want you to rent the space out, and then after you've paid the rent, then you can start earning some money each month. So I just feel like you're just being robbed basically, and then you're working really hard and not actually getting that much money from it. But like if maybe 2 apartments, like the apartment below me would be the gym and like the office where I could do what I'm about to mention. I'm at university doing like studying counselling. The next thing I'm going to do is like study like life coaching, and then after that I'm going to study like my financial advisor qualification, because then like it's a like whole encompassing. Okay, so this person needs help. They come to me for whatever they need help with. Like, if they need help with their health and their nutrition, I can sort them out for that. And then once that comes to an end, or as well as, oh, okay, so you need counselling as well. Okay, we can sort that out for you. And then they get themselves into an emotionally, mentally good state, because those 2 things, as soon as you get those 2 things sorted, you can start doing a lot more. You're healthier. You're more emotionally stable. Like people who aren't emotionally stable, no offense against them, I was one of them. Like it's found in research that people who are more neurotic don't succeed as much. Like their success rates, their financial income, they spend lots of money all the time, and they can't seem to manage things as well, and blah blah blah. So helping them in that way, and then okay, so you've sorted out your health, you've sorted out your mental state. What goals have you got? Like, do you want to go and achieve this thing? Okay, we can sort you out for that. I'll help you figure this sort of thing out. And then okay, so you've got all this sorted out, like your financial situation. Do you want any help with that? This then creates somebody who's basically a fortress. He's a fortress that can go and accomplish anything he wants. And then you've got this pillar of society that's now going around and changing things and making things better. So I can create more people like this.
That's actually an awesome idea. Awesome idea.
I'm
literally like a life coaching. It's a business that you could do, but it's like it can help people. Not just in one aspect, not just a counselor, like every aspect of their life to help them to become a better person as far as overall, help them live a better quality of life. And then once you take somebody that's broken and you rebuild them up and then they're finished, then they can go into the world and then they can help other people. You know what I mean? But you could literally have courses and classes or, groups of people come in, because there's guys that can't seem to get a date, right? And then we got guys out there that are really good, and they have YouTube channel stuff, but they have classes. You come in, 15 guys, he teaches those guys how to build confidence, how to talk to women, how to go on dates. And this is all just to, get ass, basically. But it changes a lot of things about those guys' character that helps them gain the confidence, which entails does what? They do better at work. They do better in their physical part of their bodies. They go to the gym. They become a better person, even though they have I'm not saying the main goal of getting women. I mean, some of them, they want a relationship. Some of them are just wanting to, get ass. But the helping with the diet, with the mentality, helps with the job, helps with the confidence, helps with many aspects in life. So this could work with men and women, and, that'd be a great idea, man, to be honest with you. There's a lot of people out there that grew up without parents or, didn't have a dad or this and that, and they don't have a lot of those skills,
I mean, there's for future generations, so they have a fair place to trade in the market.
Exactly. It's this kind of thing where it's just like, okay, so going with the dating analogy, like I actually did that when I was younger, like because I thought like there was something wrong with me, like why can't I attract women? Notai was saying I was gay earlier, like it was because I was gay. Like that was the problem.
Well, I think that
I don't know
might
if
be a
that's a
little bit of a
problem,
turn
but
off for them in that sense.
No, but I spent $2,000. Like, I was very young, and I was feeling like very anxious, couldn't talk to anybody, blah blah blah. And so I spent $2,000 and went down to London and just started learning how to talk to people. And like, say somebody's walking down the road and going up, and okay, I'll describe it, and it'll probably sound psycho. So I want to describe it this way, so you kind of go, wow, that's a bit weird. What? All right. So somebody's walking down the road that you think is attractive, and you go and run around them, and then stand in front of them and go stop. And that sounds like this crazy like assault kind of thing that's happening, but like you do it in a playful way, and you like, I just had to come and say, I saw like while you were walking, your hair was kind of bouncing in this really cute, like kind of mystical way. It was really, I just needed to come and say hi. And then, some girls might sort of think that's a bit weird, but it's actually immediately with other girls that are probably a bit more receptive. They'll be like, oh my God, that's really nice. Like, oh my God, that's so nice. Like, and then you just start talking. And then that gives you that confidence. And it's weird. And you're sort of, in terms of when you're kind of thinking about doing it and trying to will yourself to go and like start doing this sort of thing. But once you've done it, it's a skill, and it's something that you go with for the rest of your life. And it's like, okay, so there wasn't actually a consequence to this. And then the person that turned me down, I didn't die. It's like, oh my God, like, what, you weirdo, and they just sort of walk off. It's something to laugh at, you know what I mean? You go and tell your mates how like goofy you looked, and then you just carry on with your day. But you can carry on doing that for the rest of your life and apply it everywhere else. And it's just this tiny small thing, but it completely changes your psychology. So that's what I want to give to other people, because I had to struggle for it, and I would rather that other people got there faster. Yeah, and if we had more people that were more confident in themselves and just did things and believed things, and like, you would have more good happening in society. So.
Well, absolutely. And then, today's times too, again, the politics of the day, they have spent the last 10 years plus demasculating men, calling men, toxic masculinity, all these things. And then all of a sudden people are surprised when you need men to behave like men, why they can't, why they don't have confidence in themselves, why they're afraid to do certain things, why they're very emotional and stuff, instead of being prepared to be a man in the world. And this applies to men, whether you're gay, whether you're straight, it doesn't matter whether you're alpha male, a beta male. All males need to build a certain amount of strength and a certain amount of, and I'm not talking about physical strength, I'm talking about mental strength, to be able to deal with the issues in the world. And confidence is a big thing, and self-esteem is a big thing for men. And usually we use sports for these things. This is where we learn to win. This is where we learn to lose. This is where we learn to compete. We learn to accept getting our ass kicked and then getting up off our ass and coming back to fight again. Bullying, now they like no tolerance for bullying. Now look, abusive bullying is, I'm not talking about that. But having a bully, you have two people that are going to learn something. You have the one who thinks he can get away with something by pushing around other kids. Then you got the one that's being picked on week in, week out for 6 months. Then one day the kid has enough, talks to his dad, tells his dad said, go bust that motherfucker in the nose. Well, the next day the kid goes to school and the kid fucks with him and he busts that motherfucker in the nose. Now the bully learns something and the boy learns something, you know what I mean? To defend himself, to stand up for himself. These are lessons that, and am I speaking about myself in this situation? Yes, but I'm also speaking about other people. This just happened to happen to me as well. I got picked on a whole lot and stuff like that. And then I told my dad I was afraid to get in trouble at school and all this and that. And I was kind of scared. This kid was picking on me every day. I'd never been in a fight. My stepdad told me, bust him right in the fucking nose. He said, watch a man bleed. He said, it's the easiest thing to do. A nose bleeds real easy. He said, when a man sees blood, if he's a sissy, he'll quit it instantly. And I tell you what, I can't tell you how many people I've hit in the nose. And man, when that blood starts flowing, all of a sudden attitudes really change. And, Not that I'm advocating you'll just beating people up, but you know what I mean.
I understand that.
Well,
a lot
I
of
think-
people have never been in a fight, but like to act like they have, and it's a weird realization for them. Like you said, when they get a bloody nose or worse.
Well, people think too that like, oh my God, that's so violent. And I'm like, you know, through history, we've had, you know, we used to put men in, you know, the arena when we fight with death. You know, maybe that's just right. And now we have the option. But when you have, say, a foreign adversary that comes in, like say, in some of these European countries
Picking
like
a nuts
Sweden.
always works.
Yeah, that too. But say like in Sweden and some of these other countries where they opened armed a lot of immigration. Now, this could be a touchy subject, but the data is there for it. And you have some trouble with some of the population and females. And then they ask the males in Germany and they ask the males in Sweden, why are you not protecting the women? And the men are like, fuck that. What? Get my ass stomped by this guy? Hell no. For a woman? Hell no. Then they go, where's the men at? Well, why would a man stand up for a woman when you told him it was toxic to be violent? When you told him it was toxic to get in a fight? You know what I mean? And then you've demasculated a man and now he's afraid of the aggressive male. You know what I mean? So males have to be strong for a lot of different reasons. You have to protect your family. You have to protect your kids, you know, and through these fights when you're in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, you know, high school, you learn some of these things, you know.
Nobody ever messed with me again after I had my bully and I reacted to him. I took it and I reacted and then I was just done and I went and found the other one and just punched him in the face. I was just touch me again. But after that point, like I was just confident enough to sort of stand up and go, and, you know, like, okay, somebody else is getting shit on here. Like you know, and sort of standing up for them. And sometimes I'll stand up, I'll stand me by so that the fight doesn't get stupid. But like until when it's kind of, if they're keeping allowing it to happen, like I'm talking about high school, by the way, not now. If they're keeping it happening, they're not doing anything, like they're not helping themselves, thing. So there's kind of like that middle ground. But in terms of later life, where we are now, I think there's a lot of people here, like who probably maybe, I mean, there's a lot of people still listening to this conversation. You're talking about something that's not financially completely related, and there's clearly a lot of people. So we're all here, and we're all kind of like, yo, Citadel, you fucking bully, we're coming for you. And that's why that's why this exists, because there's enough people out there that actually do want to make a difference. I love that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great example where there is a physical force being used. It's not in the form of a fist fight, but this is a fight, and we are going to war, you know, with a bully and with somebody that's taking advantage of somebody else. I hope the shit isn't too loud for you guys, because I'm at the gym.
No, you're good, man. You're all good. All right, let's.
We have such good conversations on this Discord.
It's nice to have other people to discuss this stuff with. That's for sure. So we're not just going at it blindly by yourselves, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, that, and then again, this guy's from the UK, and this gives us an opportunity. You know, he's across the pond. You know, we're still basically still DNA, you know, related. But, you know, the culture in America is a little bit different than it is in Europe, than it is in other countries. And so to hear other people's perspective from different cultures and different nations too kind of, you know, helps, and at least in our view of how, it may not change America, how we do things in America, but it does give us a new idea or a fresh look at other people's views and opinions.
Absolutely. All right, on that note, let's see. If you guys are watching this and you didn't see the previous video, we were discussing with a gentleman by the name of Stefan Liebig, and he was telling us that he's invested in Citadel Securities through a fund that is managing his money. And so we discussed the AMC and GameStop situation and Citadel with him for the better part of, for a couple of hours actually. So if you guys haven't seen that and you want to, you can go back and check that other video out. But I'll leave you guys with that. We did touch heavily on that video on married puts, divorced puts, as well as ISDA contracts, futures, swaps, and other Evergrande issues. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out and watching and listening to us over here discuss, macroeconomics a little bit and geopolitical structures, and even some more basic things like bullying, because that stuff's pretty important, So everybody keep your head up. Don't worry about it too much, because if the entire market is melting, I think we all know what's probably going to happen with our inverse stocks that we love. So wish you the best. Be smart in your investments. Do what's best for yourself. But I'll continue to hold and buy and hold. That's for sure. So wish you all peace and wealth. Much love, everybody.